Welcome back to the BackPageLead Vidcast. I'm Jonathan Howcroft. I'm joined with Wayne Carey, and we're going to have a look forward to round 14, which is headlined by Carlton versus Hawthorn. Wayne, where do you see this game going?
It's a massive game for Carlton. We know that they haven't had a win for a little while. They have been very competitive in their last two games, but unfortunately that doesn't give you the 4 points. They need 4 points. I just can't see them getting over the Hawks, though, to be honest. I think the Hawks have hit a real purple patch of form after they flogged the Kangaroos a few weeks ago now, and I think they might be just a little bit too good. Carlton have certainly got the capabilities. I still think they're waiting for a couple of key players to come back into that side, and unfortunately they're playing Hawthorn. If it was anyone else, I'd nearly tip the Blues, but I just think the Hawks are travelling a little bit better.
I'm going to throw some stats at you. Hawthorn have played 7 of the top 10 this season. They've won 3, lost 4. Do you think that they've got a problem against the best sides? Do you think it's something about how they set up, or do you think that's just an anomaly that will right itself before the end of the year?
I think there's been one side that has had their inconsistencies this year. There's no question about that, and they're early in the year. Does it matter? Of course it matters at the right time of the year. You have to beat those sides to win a premiership. But I think the Hawks may have ironed those out. Find out a little bit more about them this week when they play the Blues. But there's no question that there's still a question mark over the Hawks because every time we've put expectations on them, they haven't lived up to them. Let's be honest. So. As this year goes on and the expectation rises, that's when we'll find out about the Hawks and see whether they are a real contender. I think they are, but they've certainly, like a lot of the sides, had their inconsistencies.
Do you think we overrated Carlton at the start of the year? Do you think that where they are now is perhaps where they should be and we just got a bit carried away?
No, I think Carlton's best 22 is probably as good as Collingwood's, as good as Adelaide's, and as good as West Coast's. Unfortunately for Carlton, their depth doesn't go as deep, and we've seen that Collingwood and the other side I just mentioned being able to handle those injuries. Carlton just haven't been able to do that, and they've paid the price.
So you're going for Hawthorn. Last week you tipped West Coast and GWS, so we'll skip past that. But
West Coast lost by a few points.
We're happy with Hawthorn.
Yep.
The other really close game I see this weekend is Adelaide hosting Richmond. I've really liked Adelaide this year, but the defeat against North Melbourne, flu-induced, is the suggestion, must have opened the door for Richmond to really fancy this.
Oh, look, Adelaide have been very good. They haven't done much wrong, but. This is one of those games. I don't think it's an easy game for Adelaide by any stretch of the imagination. It is in Adelaide, but I think Richmond have been excellent. They have been really good all year. They've been consistent all year. The games they've lost have been by a kick or a couple of kicks. I think this is going to be a really good game. This might be the match of the round. I really like the Tigers. I think they have improved. Really looking forward to the way they tackle Adelaide coming off a loss.
One of the other, or what should be one of the other close games, is the Western Bulldogs against Essendon. The Bulldogs are in a bit of a rut at the moment, and Essendon, as they showed in the final quarter last week, when Michael Hurley's up and about, they're a tasty prospect.
Oh yeah, look, the Bombers. I think they're a very good side. I think we all probably expected them to have their little downward spiral in terms of they'll hit their flat spot, and we thought that, and they've lost a couple of games, albeit by small margins. Hurley's a very good player, and obviously when he's playing well, Essendon are a much better side. But once again, this is another really good game. The Bulldogs have had their inconsistencies, weren't great last week. I'd expect them to be a lot better. But on the back of the Bombers and Hurley playing well, I think the Bombers might be a little bit too good.
There looks like a few mismatches this round as well, with Collingwood hosting Fremantle, West Coast hosting Gold Coast, and the Sydney derby with Sydney versus GWS. Finally, do you see any surprises, any upsets out of any of those matches?
Oh, look, I think we saw only a few weeks ago now Fremantle upsetting Richmond when Richmond were in really good form. So if Collingwood get ahead of themselves, Fremantle are a very capable side. So I wouldn't say that that's that's all one-way traffic. You could expect Collingwood to win though, and the other two games, they're probably you'd look at West Coast and the Gold Coast. You'd expect West Coast to win that quite well over in the West, and GWS v Sydney. Well, you'd expect Sydney to win quite easily.
And where can we hear you this weekend?
On Triple M. On Triple M on Sunday. I'm not sure what game I'm doing, to be honest. Actually, I do. I'm doing the Geelong Port Adelaide game down at the Carey. So, and that's another game. Geelong need to win, and Port Adelaide, need to bounce back as well. And we know that Port Adelaide, on a couple of occasions a few years ago, had some good wins down there. So, not that means they'll win. I still think the Cats might get them.
You'll get some good odds with Port Adelaide missing an entire leadership group this week.
Yeah, exactly. They are missing a couple, but I think the Cats will win.
Thank you very much, Wayne Carey. We'll look forward to speaking to you next week.
Cheers. Thanks.